This meeting is being recorded.
Oh,
Got it.
welcome, everybody. We're going to have an awesome, authentic conversation with Vicki from Brighten Mind. And she's going to share a little bit of her story, of her trials and tribulations of coming out through the learning to understand, to listen to her gut. Like all of us, we have to, trust that inner knowing that we know. And yeah, so Vicki, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Estelle. Thanks for having me on your podcast, and I'm looking forward to sharing my story.
So let's go a little bit back to your younger days, like you're starting your career and you're starting, high school, whatever, like however far back you want to go, right? And the person I know is like this, outgoing and happy and, always looking at the positive side, which is probably why you have Brighten Mind as
Yeah.
a podcast, YouTube channel. And so, yeah, so let's just go back and let's get a little backstory on who Vicki is.
Yeah. Well, I'm born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My parents from Philippines, and I grew up in a household that was strict Catholic, more so my mom. My dad was more laid back. So, um, yeah, growing up, it was very like religious, especially with my mom. She'd push us to go to church every Sunday. She'd make sure that we were always like up and doing something. The one thing growing up is that even though my mom was very religious, she always told us that she was kind of the underdog in her family and she was able to be one of the most successful. So she always told us growing up, whatever you put your mind to, things always work out. Like always believe in yourself, always push more and more and more. So that was like the one thing that I did get from my mom. So that's why I always like believed in myself. It's just when it came to certain things like with religion, if it wasn't based on like what the Catholicism believes in,
Mhm.
then she felt like she was sinning and that she was gonna something was gonna happen to her. So it was definitely hard for me to come out. I did realize I was gay in, I would say more like high school, kind of towards college. Um, and I didn't want to say anything to my parents, like at all,
Well,
especially,
obviously, because they're
yeah,
Catholic and you go burn in hell,
yeah, yes.
right?
And the word, the sin, 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 sin.
Yeah.
So it kind of scared me, but um, it was kind of also my mom's fault because she always said, believe in yourself, even if you have to go through something hard. So she kind of like pushed me
So,
to,
okay, so that's interesting for our listeners because here you are being brought up in the Catholic faith that is like talking about the sin and you can't be who you are. And then you have your parents who are saying, well, who cares what the outside world's saying? Follow your gut, follow your heart, be who you're supposed to be. Like, don't worry about what the outside world is saying. So how did you find that the balancing act between that?
oh my God, that was tough. I mean, like, I think deep down I felt like if I go to school like after high school, if I just follow what my mom asked me to do, my parents, mostly my mom, because my dad would always be like, whatever your mom says. If I finish school fast, like be independent, pay for my own things, I'm like, okay, then they'll accept me. So I did that. Like I went to school, got my degree in 2.5 years, or 2 years and 8 months. Really, really focused on how to be more successful, I think, because I wanted to prove to my mom that if I'm like successful, it doesn't matter what my sexual orientation is. I think that's what really pushed me as well too. I like had to really hide it though. It was really tough because in my 20s, I couldn't even say anything. And I'm like, people wondering why I never dated anyone. It's just because it didn't feel right, like the opposite sex. So I was just like, I don't know how to do this. So it got really tough, like really tough after a while. I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Well, and it's interesting because like you obviously got that drive from your mom. right? Like,
Yeah, I can even sense it. Yeah.
yeah, right. So like she's the underdog, and I'm gonna push my kids to like I don't want them to be the underdog. I just want them to be successful. And it's nothing bad about your mom. She was just doing the best she could, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And with the indoctrination that she had had, and the, and I think at this time it's so important that we shed those beliefs, those, well, you must be this, or you must be that, because of,
Mm,
lineage, right? Like they only did the best
that-
they could.
yeah. And that's
But we
like,
all know that um it wasn't a sin to Jesus.
mm, yes, because I've read it somewhere where he said you have to accept people as they are. I mean, that's true love.
Mhm. And it's in the Bible. I just can't quote the Bible. I'm
Um,
not up on my verses as well as I could be. But yeah.
yeah, it's funny where if you asked me 10 years ago, I'd probably be like crying and upset about it. It's just, it took years for me after I came out. So I say 10 years ago, about 9 years ago, because as years went by, I ended up dating my girl from back then, who's now my wife, because we just got married.
Yeah.
um,
Well, I think
and
it's more than 10 years.
pardon?
It's more than 10 years.
Born
Well,
in 10
just
years?
because I'm thinking of the memory I just had,
Mhm.
and I don't know, like you're kind of just maybe feeling out the dating thing. And that's got to be more than 10 years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's more than 10 years. That's right. It's probably around 2007 when I first had my first date, like with,
Yeah. Okay. That makes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it was not till 2011, years later, when I actually started dating, like my current, like my wife. Um, but yeah, it was scary that time. Like I didn't tell anyone. I think it was just told like one of my close friends.
Mhm.
And it honestly felt right. Like I actually felt like, oh my gosh, this is great. But how am I gonna be able to tell my parents? Especially my mom. I mentioned my mom again because my dad, I knew that he was more like laid back and he would only be strict if my mom told him to be.
Yeah.
Um, and then years went
And
by
that's
and
normal. We always have one parent that's a bit more,
yeah,
who cares?
yeah.
I love you. Carry on.
Yeah. And then a few years after that, that's when I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna date more, see how things are going, and then I still didn't tell my mom. This is like 2009, so 2 years after that. And then finally, I started dating Melissa. Like I met her, I knew her. We were friends at first for like
Mhm.
a couple years, a year and a half, or yeah, a couple years. And then even though I started dating Melissa in 2011, I still did not tell my parents. Like this was like the most serious relationship I've been in. Um, And I think yes, now I know when I told her. When I told out my parents, it wasn't the best way. Um, I was having issues with the place that we were renting at one time.
Mhm.
It almost caught fire, actually.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So luckily it wasn't. It was something with the furnace. So luckily Melissa and I were like safe, and all the people in the unit were safe. But um, I think it hurt me a lot because I told my mom that I was almost in a fire and she like didn't care. Like she cared, but she's just like, you know what, like she didn't even have a comment. And it like made me upset. I think it was more about that. And I was at work and I was just like, what the heck is going on? Like my mom, she used to care more. And what happened is I ended up coming out to her with my corporate email, sending it to her work
Oh
at
my
around
gosh.
11 a.m. And then like she was so shocked. She like emailed back and said like, what is this? She's like, I can't accept a daughter like this. So I was just like, shit, maybe this is, oh, apologies. I swore. She's like, shoot, this is not the way I should have came out.
Yeah.
But and it got worse after that. Like she told like everyone, like my siblings kind of reached out, not really. My brother kind of did, but
But you
not as
gotta
much.
understand, like, your parents have this vision of what your life is going to be for all your children,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
I know, like with my nephew was like, we knew it when he was 3, but we let him figure it out. And it
Oh,
was
wow.
just like, it's just like, the thing is like, as a parent or an aunt or a family member, you're like, wow, you're really close to God. Like, this is how I look at it. You're
Yeah.
really close to God for the fact that this is not an easy life to choose, like, to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so you already got all the normal peer pressures and career and all that, right? And then you got to put this on top of it. And it's like, this isn't the icing on the cake,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right? It's like, oh my gosh, the mud has caved us in, right? And so, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so like it's and I can see your mom like just going, why?
Yeah.
Right? Questioning
What does that work?
her relationship with God, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was the underdog. I've struggled. I've given my kids the best life I can give them. Why would you make one of them gay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for
And
sure.
all her
Definitely.
pain and all her like having to let go of the dreams that she had for you,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
That's true. It might like I as a because I was younger, I always felt like, why did she understand? I'm blaming her on everything. But when you mention that, it's true. Like she definitely like had dreams too, right?
Mhm.
So like it must have been tough for her too, for sure. And like I felt so like so much animosity to my mom at that time. And I'm just like, you know what? Like if you're gonna be like this, like we're not gonna have a relationship. And it was definitely tough. It was definitely tough. But um especially when a couple months later, I finally saw her in person at my cousin's birthday. It's like a kids party, and she completely like ignored me, which was like I was like, okay. And then Melissa, I noticed I started getting tougher, like because
Yeah.
Melissa had I had Melissa's support,
Mhm.
and it made me. Melissa was saying, why do you keep crying about this? Why? It's just like I know you care so much about what your mom thinks, but like this is give you a time to be stronger as a person individually.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that
And
I
Melissa is a very strong person.
yes, she's very strong. She will talk to someone if they're bothering her and she won't even cry and stuff. With
Yeah.
me, I'm opposite. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna cry. She's like, she's like, what? You're gonna give me a look? Okay, I don't care. Like she's like, I'll give you a look back. That's her kind of,
Yeah.
but she taught me to be more tougher. So that was definitely tough. And honestly, Adele, it was probably
Well,
not.
is it more tough, or when you have to have the conversation, you kind of go, okay, I have emotions. I'm going to keep them in check, and I can have my breakout or my breakdown after I get what I need to get. Because I mean, like whether it's your mom or whatever, whether it's a work situation, right? Like you might be upset about your boss saying, well, Vicki, you got this, and why'd you do it that way? And you'd be like, why is he talking to me like this?
Yeah.
But you got to be there in your professional face, and you don't break out crying, and then you
That's
leave, and then you go, okay, go to the bathroom. No, right? Have your
true.
freak out in the bathroom, and then, right? So it's like, but it's always, you got to, when the ones that are the closest to us hurt us the deepest,
Yes.
and it's
I've
not
heard that so
intentional,
many times.
right? But then
Yeah.
you also got to think, and maybe this still might be some digging on your part, was because I've just realized this, right, in my life, that I was blaming that person and it was never that person. Like,
Yeah.
in your case, like you've been blaming your mom, but it's actually your dad,
Mm,
right? Like, stop being a pansy, stand up for me. Like,
it's
why are
true.
you
Yeah.
letting, right? I'm not saying that's
Yes.
happening, but I was just like, when I had that realization, I was going, are you joking? I
Mm,
was always supported by this person that I used to think hated me. And it was
wow.
the person that it was like, I thought we're fine, like all good. And it was like, that was the dagger. It was never the person I thought. And I was like, it was a huge eye opener,
Wow.
right? Because of the conditioning that they have had. So I'm saying it's digging deeper into the conditioning of both your parents and saying, well, why is your dad so quiet? Why won't he speak up? Who kept him quiet? Because he couldn't be who he needed to be.
Yeah, that's true. I
Right.
mean,
And I remember years ago hearing someone say, have you ever thought your dad had dreams before you were born? And then he had to get a job? And like that's a huge wake-up call, right? Because it's like, well, dad's always working. It's like, well, yeah, but what were dad's dreams? Maybe you can go and have those dreams together,
that's true.
right?
Hmm.
Anyways, sorry, I got us lost track. But you know what I mean? It's like we blame the barking dog,
But it could be, yeah.
when it's really the cat. Thing, right? Like we're going barking dog, be quiet, when it's like the cat's just going scratch. I
That's
never
true.
did that,
I mean,
right?
that's true. But then at the end of the day, like, so yeah, even though it seems like I blamed my mom, definitely I blame my mom, like back then. But I had to come to a point in time in my life where I had to take 100% responsibility, like, which I did. Like, it was not like my mom or my dad, it was like me who put myself through that type of, like, I had to experience. It's like, it's actually something I had to experience to like become the person I was meant to be, because so many people said that when I did come out, like, I'm the happiest I've ever been. I mean, because of being a person I'm meant to be. And even though we didn't talk to, I actually didn't have a relationship with my mom and dad for about like 2 years after I came out. Like, we didn't even see each other. It was to the point where my sister is like my mom. So she kind of cut me out too, but she said, I don't want you to be estranged from the family. But with my viewpoint, I just said, you know what? I can't stand this like negativity. I can't be around negative people right now. So that really helped me put my like foot down. And then I guess they saw how happy Melissa and I like are and like were even back then, and just like how like true love is, and just that she was really supportive. She's just everything. And they saw how happy I was, even though it took 2 to 3 years for them to talk to me. I think they realized that I was very happy, and that I guess, it's time to accept it. And I'm happy to say that, yes, um, they have. I mean, I'm blessed that it was important for my family to be in Hawaii, but I was just like, if they want to, if they don't, Melissa and I were like, okay with just having a small group. But I didn't realize how much it meant to my mom. So, uh, like, a lot of my family came, and I know a lot of them
a big
came.
wedding.
Well, they said because it was the first same-sex wedding in my whole like family, but also like they like Melissa, like they know she's like a good person. I've had family members where they date people where they weren't such a nice person, or just they get married and they realize like they weren't the nicest person. Like, they were nice before marriage and now they're kind of like, why are they changing their personality? But Melissa stayed consistent. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. Like,
Well,
that
and
so
the
much
myth,
love and support.
well,
Yeah.
and the myth is that the gay community is promiscuous and they don't stay together, and that's the myth out there.
Yeah.
Because
More so with like,
you guys, like, heterosexuals are more promiscuous and break up faster.
oh, interesting.
You guys tend to stay, like, what if you find your person, you're together. I know more same-sex couples that have been married 25 plus years,
Wow.
and the only reason they get their parted is because one of them has literally transitioned, right?
That's
And so,
interesting.
yeah, so it's very interesting. And then I'm talking about even when like you weren't allowed to be out,
Yeah.
they still stay together,
Wow.
right?
Wow. That must have been like hard back then. Like, that's what Melissa and I talk about too. It's like, it must, even though I had a hard time, Melissa's family, it was pretty easy. They were like, okay, whatever, like, this is what you want, sure. But mine, it was we always talk about this. Like, we're grateful that we're at a time in our life where it was more accepting. I know 10 years ago, it's made a complete change. Like, even Pride Calgary, even my
Mhm.
nephew is 16. I'm like, oh, how do they treat gay people? It's like, oh, um, it's all good, auntie. Like, my friend was dating a guy and then a girl. Like, it's not a big deal. Like,
Mhm.
but that's like because he's a Gen Z, and then those that the age is just more accepting more. I feel like back then, like, I've seen stories 50s, 60s from the 1950s, 60s where it was, yeah, it was scary at that time. So
Mhm.
we're grateful. Even my current job, when I started at this position at this company, you actually had to take an LGBTQ course. Like, it was an online course, mandatory training by HR. It was about like 30 minutes. And, I was just, wow, this company's pretty cool. Like, they're accepting right away. You can put like a pride sticker on your name tag by your desk. So that made me feel really comfortable. Yeah.
Well, but I have my views on that because I think in the awareness of who you are, right? Because sometimes even though like I'm born and raised in Calgary as well, I'm like, well, I don't get everything everyone else gets. I don't get like government help because I came off of a boat or got flown in on a plane. I don't get like winter coats given to me because, and I'm like, so I feel discriminated against by being female living in Calgary.
Mm,
But is that truth? Well, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's the reality. But then, so let's go back to you couldn't have negative people around you because I know you are a crazy reader of everything positive in
yeah,
books, right?
I love books. Yeah, I think it's this year that made me realize that that's what I should focus on, especially with my channel. I did an analytics on my page channel, and I saw my YouTube channel, and I saw like majority of the views and likes are on books. So yeah, it's something that I really love to do at the moment. But I'm not
Yeah.
a
So,
person. Yeah.
like, has there been a book or a couple books in your journey? And sorry to put you on the spot, but it's like, does one pop out that says this one helped?
Oh wow, yeah. There were a lot. The one was definitely Ask and Is Given by Esther Hicks,
Okay.
just because it felt like more going with the flow.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't read so many books on actually coming out. I wish I did because that probably would have helped me a lot. But yeah, that was one of the books, and like The Magic of Believing. Um, yeah, that was a big one too.
Have you
Uh,
read Glennon Doyle?
no,
Oh,
Glennon Doyle.
yeah.
What's that
Well,
about?
she's the rage, right? Like she's the rage of like she was in a heterosexual marriage, then she thinks like she's gay, and then I don't know how do I do that to my kids, and now she's married to a woman, and it was like all this rage, and I was just like it was a good book, but then on the other hand, I was having some issues with it because she was kind of brought up in the church, and I'm a good church wife and stuff, right? And yes, like her journey has made an impact on a lot of people, heterosexual or gay, it doesn't really matter. But in some ways, it was just like I don't know. Sometimes I was reading it, going, "You're so fake," but that's just
Mm,
my
it doesn't
that's
feel like
right.
authentic.
Yeah, and then it's really funny because like I look at the same scenario of like the whole fiasco with Will Smith at the Oscars and whatever, and I'm like, but if you read his book, you'd understand why he did it.
From his
His
upbringing.
conditioning is protect at all cost.
Mm,
He protected his wife at all costs. Is he going to get suffered because he can't go to the Oscars for 10 years? No, because he's kind of getting bored of movies.
and he won anyways. So yeah.
But he's not allowed back for 10 years. And it's like, but if you
You
know if you've read his book, which is fantastic, by the way, like he protects at all costs. Like, and it was funny because when I was saying something about his book to a friend, and I said, like the Fresh Prince, like which was supposedly this big career move, it didn't even come in until chapter 10,
Wow.
right? there's a whole lot of life before chapter 10.
Yeah,
And
wow.
so it's just, it's in a different way of coming out. It's like, because he's told, like, from his siblings, well, you're such a wimp. He's like, but I make you laugh,
Mm,
right? They wanted him to be the protector, and he's like, I am protecting because I'm making you laugh. I'm keeping daddy-o off of your tail because I'm making him laugh, right? And so it's like, your sister might have been more on your mom's side because, whatever, but your brother kind of stayed silent with your dad, right?
yes, my dad, yes. Melissa even notices that too. Yeah.
Right?
He's a
But
silent.
from what I've seen, like, he's there for you,
Yeah, yeah.
own
Everyone's saying
quiet
like,
way,
yes.
you know?
Everyone says that ever since, well, because we started golf together. But past few years, in the beginning when I came out, he would make some like lesbian jokes.
Mhm.
And Melissa and I didn't think that was so cool. But now it's just his understanding. Like he didn't know any better. I mean, like he's such a kind person and he's always there for Melissa and I. So like we're really close with my brother. Even Melissa.
Or
Yeah.
in the jokes, you go, yes, I am,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, kind of thing. Like you kind of diffuse it by agreeing. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
thanks for
That's true.
sharing.
Yeah.
And it's coming back to the mindset of like, we put so much turmoil in our own lives because of what we think the expectations are of somebody else.
Hmm.
What they think is none of our business. So why are we concerned about it?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
All we have concern about is what we're feeling in right now in the present moment. And if that works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
That's very true.
Right?
Very true.
So let's get back to like how you guys have blossomed. And I know you've blossomed because one, you've been married, you've gone on a honeymoon to your wonderful wife.
Yeah.
And how has accepting you and all the glory of you helped your family to join in on the celebration?
I think it started, yeah, what you mentioned earlier was myself. I changed.
Mhm.
Like I forgave my mom, forgave my dad, forgave my siblings. And I realized that it was my energy. Um, I wasn't in a good place because I felt like I let my mom down a lot. Like it was tough because I always listened to what my mom wanted. And like
Mhm.
her opinion growing up meant a lot to me. Like it was to the point where she taught my sister and I that when it comes to relationships, the woman always is right and the woman always has more control. So growing up, meeting friends who have parents where they tell me their dad is so strict, like their mom has to do absolutely everything, it was completely new to me. Like I was just like, what? Like growing up, I thought it was always like a woman,
Yeah.
and then to like 90% of them are like, no, my dad, it's always the man who's dominant. So like things like that. It's just like I always wanted to make sure like my mom was like proud, happy. So I
Mhm.
think that's what really was tough was like coming out, not having to speak to my mom. She would always say like I've accomplished a lot. She'd always say that in families like, oh, Vicky's done this and that. And that stopped, but that was totally fine. It came back kind of now, but um, it took time, a few years, and we just started talking more. They started accepting Melissa,
Mhm.
um, and yeah, it's to the point where yeah, like my mom, she really likes Melissa. She's always saying like, "Oh, how is she? She's in the family now," like things like that. So I think it was really me. If I didn't change and I'd still be in that person who I was a few years ago, I probably wouldn't have a good relationship with my family as I do right now because I took that
Well,
step.
and um that's a good point to say about it is you. The outside circumstance don't matter, right?
Yeah.
When you know better, you do better, right?
Yes.
And do you think you would have the relationship with your wife now if you hadn't had said, no, like I gotta stand in my truth. I gotta be who I am and let the fallout be the fallout.
Definitely not, because I would still be living during that time when I didn't come out. She noticed she's like, why are you always like trying to, like when we started dating, she knew I loved like books and like personal development, but she knew there was something missing. Like I always tried to, it's not like I tried to avoid it, but I didn't like confront it. I was confronting it like in baby steps, like doing tapping, doing energy clearing, but it was just such a big onion that I had to do so much in years in order for me to get where I'm at. So that made all the sense. And if she knew, there were times where I would just be like upset and sad. She's like, what's going on? I don't understand. It's because of those emotions, those trapped emotions, because of me feeling bad about my mom coming out, things like that. But she knew I was like happy with her. She just was wondering, it's not our relationship. She knew it was something else.
Well, and she wants
So
to help.
yes, yeah.
Like a good partner wants to. Like, you need the box moved, let's move it. But like, and where's it getting trapped in your body? How can I help you get it unstuck, right?
Yeah.
And that's interesting, looking at positive books as a kind of a stepping stone to, am I ready to uncover the darkness?
Yeah.
Right?
So true.
I'll just show the outside world like I'm this happy bright light. I'm this happy bright light. And it's like, and you're dying inside,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, like, I kind of called you out that day, right? And you're like, and I saw your face, like, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm not saying anything, right? And I remember seeing a coworker one time at a gay club. That was when they were different, because gays didn't go to the regular clubs and vice versa. And I was like, oh my gosh, people, we're all people, right?
Yeah.
And I remember coming into work, and then like he looked horrified because he
Aw.
knew I had seen him. And I go, so did you have a good weekend? He goes, yeah, it was really good. How about you? And I go, great. And I kept on going. And he came up to me after and he goes, you're not saying anything? I said, not mine to say. Right? Because I said, how am I to say any different? Because maybe I was still in the closet.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Right? Like, I'm in the gay club, but I'm straight. It was just the only thing open on a Sunday night.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right?
That's
Like,
awesome.
so
Yeah.
like, back in my day, like you have a day off, and that was the club that was open.
That's
Right?
awesome that you win.
Right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like it was a straight gay thing. It was like we wanted to go and dance and have fun and have a couple of drinks, and that was the club that was open. So that was where we went.
Yeah. That's awesome that you went.
Well, yeah, I don't care. I like, and it's funny because years ago, I ended up going on a trip. Oh, it was Nashville.
Hmm.
And I was like, how am I the only straight person in all this whole group? Right? And then the joke was, oh, you're one of us anyways. I'm like, whatever. Because I was like,
Awesome.
that's
Yeah.
weird. It was awesome. It was funny.
Yeah.
It was funny. Right?
Yeah. And like, I think what I want to do is just even this whole thing about coming out, like it's tough, but I know some people it's even more tough. Like I did meet someone where um they're from a small town and their family they came out to the family, especially in a small town, and they like kicked them out right away. So like I was grateful I was at a point in time in my life where like even though my mom was like rude, I was just like, you know what? I was able, like I was living with my girlfriend, like my wife right now, like we were able to like do our own thing, but I can feel it's tough. So, I do want to inspire like that community. And like you said, like having this inner like having to identify as a LGBTQ, like it could be tough for people. But like you said, Adele, like you're closer to God, you're closer to the universe. Like it's like you were given this for a reason. Like it just, I feel like if anything, it's never really made me less of a person, but it's
Mhm.
actually made me more tough. And even 10
It's
years
also
ago, I
made you
would
more compassionate
yes, yes,
and
yeah,
understanding and
definitely.
can I help? And so just to sidetrack this a bit, like one of I had a friend, him and his partner used to take in those kids that got kicked out,
Oh wow.
right? Because they remember 40 years ago when they started being together,
Oh,
how tough it was. So they always had a room in their home for a kid that needed it.
wow.
And people found them. And I'm like, how do you find these kids? We don't know.
Oh,
Right. So it's like you, Melissa, like if you feel that you could open that space up, people will find you,
yeah, that's true.
right? Like I'm not saying you're taking in the drug addicts that, have other problems, but it's just like,
Yeah, yeah.
that
There were
small
some.
town kid that just got kicked out, right? Like, you know,
Yeah,
but
that's very.
like now that you had these conversations with your parents, like, did they know, but they just didn't want to believe it?
They we never had that conversation where it's did they know more of like they kept saying like, "Oh, we had no idea, we had no idea." But I know my mom will never mention that she knew, but I knew deep down inside she knew because she would
Mhm.
ask like, "Why are you hanging out with more girls? Like, why don't you have a boyfriend?" Like certain like mannerisms I had, like I never want to like wear a dress, even though that has nothing to really do about being like gay. It's
Mhm.
just I like more like the androgynous look. Like so
Mhm.
but she was always wondering things like that. But yeah, we never had that conversation. I'm sure deep down my intuition is telling me she did know
Yeah.
for sure. My dad, yeah, I think for sure. But it was more of him, my senses felt like he was like, yeah, that's what she wants. But my mom was more, she knew, but she wanted to like pull it back because she would when I just came out, she would say, "Oh God, something with God's not gonna love you," blah blah, so things like that. And
So
at
how
that,
much? No, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, just at that time, I wasn't as religious, so I was more about like universe and believing in the universe. And I'm like,
Mhm.
the universe will always believe me. So like I had different mindsets by that time.
Yeah. Well, and I always go, okay, you're splitting hairs with semantics, God, universe, spirit, whatever. It's all one.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
all
So
one.
oh my God, we're
Like,
all one.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's interesting. So do you think um your nationality had much to do with it, with your mom and dad's beliefs?
I think so, but in Filipino culture, it's more difficult for some reason, I have no idea. It's more difficult for males to come out than females. Even in Philippines, even my
Oh,
cousins who
interesting.
live, yeah, like my cousins who live there and who lived there and who grew up and born and raised, they say they have a lot of lesbian friends who their parents accepted. But the moment a boy, one of their friends who was a male, the parents are so upset. They just said, like, it's a no-no. So that's another thing
Oh,
too.
you know what just came to me? Because
Mm,
their family lineage has died.
yeah, that's true. That's probably the reason
Right?
why.
And okay, this is so funny. So flip to that is women that can bear children are more likely to give their child, if they're getting like a teen that can't keep the baby,
Yeah.
to males, to
Really?
males, because
Oh,
they have no way of ever conceiving a child, where the
mm,
females can.
that's
And I
interesting.
thought, so it's funny because I said to my nephew, I go, well, that statistic, you like when you decide to have babies, you're going to get one,
Exactly.
right?
Whoever.
Because there's no physical way to be able to have one. So the teenagers who are pregnant or whatever, giving their children up for adoption, say, this is my gift to you.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different ball game too, right? Like that takes the whole coming out, wanting kids, not wanting kids, whatever, to a whole different level, right?
Yeah. That's very true.
And even like surrogacy is so in now. Like it's really funny.
Yeah.
The more money you have, the more you get somebody else to carry your kid. But,
Yeah, that's very interesting too.
So what are you reading right now?
Excuse me, my cough here. Right now, I'm actually reading this book, The Happiness Hypothesis.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Excuse me. I think the one thing, yeah, it's a really good book. I mean, like it talks about how when um you're like you're not happy. Sorry,
That's okay.
I just, sorry. I think I'm at my max at the moment. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just be back in 1 second.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so as I mentioned with the book, it's interesting how they talk about like in order to like be sorry. Okay, 1 second.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, back to my book.
And I don't know how to edit those out, so whatever.
Okay, yeah. We can just, I think you can, yeah, cut it, but we'll see.
Whatever.
So back to this book that I'm reading. I think the main thing that got in there is they did a study of people who don't have like a goal or dream
Mhm,
that they're striving for,
mhm.
and they found those are the most like unhappy. Like you're the happiest when you're going towards a goal or dream versus someone who's just stagnant. Like the story they mentioned is like someone who's retired and they don't have any goals. So they keep themselves busy by like just staying still or like going gambling, things like that. Like you have
Yeah.
to, that's why Melissa and I, when we talk about when we retired, it's like not fully retired. It's more of like what hobby are we going to be doing like 100% of the time, or what project. We always want to talk about like a new project that we're working on because
I
that's when
don't
we're
see
the
you guys retiring at all. You just might not be getting paid for what you're doing,
yeah, yeah,
right? Like, because you
exactly.
guys are voluntary people. You guys are like staying in the community. Like, yeah. Like you,
Yeah.
like, yeah. Yeah. Because it's interesting you're saying that about the book, because I remember it was grade 10 social studies. And my teacher was talking about you guys have to have dreams, you have to have hobbies, like start building your hobbies now before you get your career. And we're like, what's he going on ranting about, right? Because he would take us on tangents, but he was one of my favorite teachers because he'd go down those rabbit holes, right? And we're like, what?
Cool.
And so, but the ultimate thing was his dad had worked 40 years at a job, got the golden handshake, whatever, retirement party, all nice, came home. For a month, he got up, got showered, whatever. The next month, it was like he was showering maybe 10, 11 in the morning. The third month, he didn't even get out of his pajamas half the time. And the fourth, he was dead. He had nothing outside of work. And so he says, don't do
Good.
what the previous generations, he didn't just say his dad, he goes, that generation wasn't allowed to have outside interests. And he goes, and I'm not saying it's just for men, I'm saying women, like you guys get your interests and then go play at the job. Don't give your life to the job.
That's true.
And so like that kind of brings me back to like, the stagnant stuff, right? Because the last year and a half, I was like, okay, well, I went from seeing thousands of people every day to seeing nobody. I'm a people person.
Oh yeah, you are.
Right? And so I'm like, how am I not getting stagnant? Where do I have to shift? And so that's kind of how this podcast started, because it was like I was being nudged to talk to people, get people's stories. And I'm like, about what? They'll tell their story. And I'm like, okay, right? And so people are like,
about what? You're like, yeah,
yeah, like awesome. It's like, what do you want to talk about? Like, I don't know. You got a story to talk. Right?
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And that brings me back to like, I'm glad like we're talking, because it's like I've missed you.
Yeah, and you too, Adele. Like you always like have great energy and like very interesting, intuitive words that just come out of you.
Yeah, like, well, and I truly believe that listening to my gut and listening to the knowing of who I am and speaking my truth, that's my truth.
Mm.
My truth is speaking the truth. Whether it's coming through me, it doesn't matter. And so when I'm working with clients or whatever, it's like, do you want it recorded? Because I won't know what I'm saying a lot of the time.
Hmm. So it could be downloaded from,
Yeah.
from
I have lots of people coming and talking, like whether it's your grandmother or whether it's, Gaia or whether like Jesus or just like, it doesn't matter. It's like the message will come because I only can speak the truth.
So it's so interesting how you mentioned my grandmother, because she's one of the most, I guess she's the most like number one spirit that I always feel like that's around me and that's like talking to me. But it's so cool how you come to the point. It's like Esther Hicks, where you're downloading that information.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it feels like truthful, and like that's your gift. And it's awesome that you can like do that.
She
And
says
like
she's with. She says she's here.
Oh.
She's like, tell her I'm here. I'm like, okay.
It's interesting. She's always there. She was even there in Scotland when I was haunted by the ghost in the castle. I couldn't
Oh, that
sleep.
was funny.
That was scary.
I laughed my head off with that one.
I sweat. Like I went to bed sweating all night. Melissa's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I just can't sleep." My grandma was speaking to me in my ear, saying, "I'm here.
Mhm.
You can sleep. The spirit, I'll protect you from it." But at the end of the day, like I just felt I wasn't welcome in that room. But it's not like they were going to hurt me. I just didn't feel welcome. And I realized the room that we stayed in, there's a story. So just really weird energy. Any hauntings in Calgary, because it's such a new kind of city and country, Canada, it doesn't scare me as much as the old, the old like stories and buildings in Europe. So I just, the energy was just off. So I'm glad I'm not going to experience that again.
No, but I mean, you got to remember, it's just like your story of coming out, right?
Yeah.
How do we do it that won't offend people, but still be true to us? And these are just people who've lived at a different time, who, for whatever reason, haven't transitioned the full way. So they're basically in the hallway of living to spirit, and they can't get out.
See, I don't know. With you, Adele, it doesn't seem like you're scared, but like that stuff really scares me. And then Melissa's like, "Why are you scared?" I'm more scared of physical people than actual spirits, because they're not going to hurt you. But for some reason, I'm so sensitive to that. Like, it scares me.
But the thing is I've had to learn not to be scared, because they come to me all the time to be transferred over, to be crossed over. And so, like for instance, I have a friend who was up at the Chateau Lake Louise, right?
Oh God, yeah, I heard stories.
Well, I know, but the thing is like, I'm like, I don't have my phone on when I'm sleeping. I don't have it on. And I'm like, my phone kept on ringing and ringing. And then finally the third time I'm like, okay, now I'm awake. Who's wanting me? And I've always said, regardless if the ringer's on or not, I will hear you if you need to talk to me. And I pick up the phone, I'm like, what do you want? And my friend's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you've called me 3 times. And she goes, my phone's across the room from me. I'm not calling you.
Oh, wow.
And then I said, okay, spirit, whoever's in the room, please let us go. It's not our time. Come at a different time. And both phones went dead.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because they're trying to work whatever, like it's very hard for them to come into the physical to get help, but they can go through the phone lines or the TV or whatever, right?
Like knocking on our
Scared of
door.
them because they're coming to you for a reason. Right? And
Someone
it's
said
just
that
like,
they wanted to be like, they want you to say hi to them, like because Melissa and I were like so happy and joyful, laughing at that time. It was like 10 p.m. at night, and then our front door knocked 3 times hard. So I'm like, and then there was another lady who was staying there, a guest. And she was explaining to us that ghosts, this is interesting, it's like a coming out story, but we're talking about the ghosts. Ghosts, she said ghosts are 99% are good, and they want to be known around people who are happy.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting. And she's like, there's that 1%. It's so interesting because she's really about ghosts. Like she went to like different castles there and telling us her stories, staying by herself. She's like, well, there are 1% of ghosts, Vicki. She's like, that are very, very dark and negative. In your lifetime, you won't even experience those. They won't even go to any like druggies or anything. You have to be a very, very dark, bad person for those ghosts to get you. I was like, oh, okay, scary, but interesting. That's the darkness.
Well, it is the darkness. And I think more and more, like right now in this time, as we're shifting from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, like they're getting caught. Where do we go? Because we're already in the hallway of transition. We're not a human and we're not spirit. Like, and so now we're shifting as a world into the Aquarian age, which we've never done because it only happens every 26,000 years.
Wow. What's
How
the
do we
is
do
it
this?
very like, because I've heard us saying we're moving from information age to the intuition age. Is that kind of the same thing?
Well, I call it love and light, right?
Mm,
Because we've had the dominant male, not man, masculine,
masculine energy, yeah.
right? And then now it's coming into we're all one, we're love, we're light. Right? So when people are like, oh, this and that, and I'm like, we're not gonna have any of it. Well, we have to have banks, we have to have schools. Like, do we? Do other civilizations have it? Right?
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, I mean, I know I've gone down to a
Yeah.
rabbit hole or whatever, but I mean, it's just
Mm.
like saying, like right now, the forefront is on the LBGQ. I don't know what the acronyms are, but anyways, like
Yeah,
that
they just keep
community,
adding, yeah.
right? But is it just because it's coming up to the forefront? It's always been around.
Yeah, it's always been around. And
It's
like
just
with all
right
these,
now, it's being the light's being shone on, saying we're all one. Just
exactly,
be
like
the love, be the essence of who you are. What happens behind your doors is none of my business.
it's interesting how you mentioned like we're all one because the LGBTQ, there are how many letters now? Even like 10 years ago, it's completely different. And there was a person speaking at my works panel. I watched the recording. He was born in the 90s or 80s. And he said that it's the millennials and Gen Zs who want to be like have a title, like lesbian, gay. Back then, it wasn't as known, he said. He's surprised with how many acronym or letters. And the plus includes like apparently the Black Lives Matter community, Asian community, Indigenous. So it's starting to be one. It's not just LGBTQ now based on the acronym.
But the thing is like, so some of the studies I've been listening is forget all about all of it. We're going back to the indigenous ways because they were the first people on the earth.
Yes.
We're going back to the land to stop poisoning it. We're going back to using everything that we're supposed to use. And it's really interesting because I've been working with the shaman the last few months. And so I asked him about the ayahuasca and all this, and he goes, no, you don't need drugs to do the journey. You don't need plants to do your inner work. And then I said, okay, so humor me. What about sweat lodges? Right? Because, I've done some or whatever. And he says, no. And I go, why not? He goes, yeah, go sweat by yourself. You don't need anyone to lead you, because if you're trusting the person who's leading, they don't know you. You don't know what they're saying. They could be taking you down a rabbit hole that you'll never get out.
That's true.
And I was like, wow, like that was a totally different look at it, right? He says, you do what you do with the people you absolutely trust with your life. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I trust you. He goes, you wouldn't be here if you didn't. I was like, you have an answer for everything. But I also know I've been calling him in for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm like, I want to get because in my other lives, like we're totally going off topic here, but I know I've been the medicine man. I've been the pipe carrier. I know I've been, right? I know as the child that got shipped off. And so I want to bring all of that into now. And I kept on saying the right shaman will show up when I'm ready. I just happened to be at a trade show that I'm like, oh my God, it's you. And he goes, why'd you take so long to show up? And I'm like, how come it's me that didn't show up?
Yeah, you just think maybe you weren't ready.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, and so we
know what
kind
you
of
mean.
had this laughter, right? Of like,
Yeah.
you know, we both needed to be ready to show up at the time we need to show up,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
That's very true.
And so it's like, so when you think about young people, what advice would you give them?
I would be, and that was a good question because that was also in a big question in the monologue at my work. Someone asked, what advice would you give to someone who's afraid to come out, especially a young person? And what would you give to advice for people talking about gay bashing within your family? And, right away, just because where I'm at, I was like, just don't give a F. But you know what? Back when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, I care what people think. But the advice I would do is just like give yourself some time and, like this is a journey that you're going to have to go through. And I know it may seem tough. Although, even though some people, it's easy for them. Like one guy on the panel said, I was a lucky one. I was born in the 80s. My parents said, we love you no matter what. Yeah, that you're gay. On the other side, there's another guy who said, my parents, he said, I was 35, 40, I was older, and they still did not understand. So as a kid, it is tough because, it's your parents. You don't know if they'll accept you or not. But what you can do is like reach out to different communities. And there are LGBTQ lines. We're lucky in Calgary, there are phone calls with people who can help, like counselors. Funded by people who donate, so things like that. And if people ever need like advice, like they can even reach out to me, even myself. I actually don't mind giving people advice because growing up in the religious Catholic church, like it's tough. It's tough, but it'll make you stronger. Like the outcome, like it may look like a storm, but you need that to go through that storm in order to get that sunshine. You need to go through that to become the person you're meant to be. And honestly, it's worth it. It's worth it because I'm so much more happier. Like you should have seen me back then. Everyone, these were the words that people would describe me as when I was younger. Vicki, you were the quiet, emo one. You always just like always on your own, sitting on the side. You always look sad. So, I guess that was because I wasn't my true self. And now
that's interesting. So you were even like, you even had come out more when I first met you then.
Yes, that was like one of the
you still, I don't think were you fully out? I don't know. I don't think so.
I think when I saw you, it was like I was 2 or 3 months prior, or 2 or 3 months later. That's when I came out to my mom. Like 100%.
Okay, I didn't think you were fully out.
Yeah.
I was just like, whatever. I'm sitting here. I'm having a drink with you. Right? Because I was like, I don't like, I mean, it didn't matter, right? Because I've always been the person that if you're new to the city and you don't have anywhere, you're always welcome at my house for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was like, I never brought home stray dogs or stray cats. I brought home stray people. Right? Like, well, they have nowhere to go for Christmas, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's always been very inclusive, and I don't know if it's because of my background. Oh,
sorry. My thing fell.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Because like in the West Indies, it's like the door is always open, right? Like everyone's always welcome. It's
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a different culture in itself too. So, but anyways.
Yeah.
So On a final thought to a young person who is on that, and I think whether you're gay or not, some people just have their trial by fire to go through,
Yes.
right? It doesn't have to, right? So just in generality of what would you say? Like for instance, I'm thinking like, like with my grandnephew, like just love who you are,
Yeah. Yep. That's the
right?
advice.
Whoever you end up being, if you want to wear pink hair, then wear pink hair. Like that, he's in a phase of coloring his hair all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like I was like, I don't know what color his hair is going to be for the wedding because you just don't know, right?
But you
And
got
so
it. It's
it's
really
just
about,
loving yourself.
yeah, love yourself. I think it's true that you mentioned that, because that's what I was thinking as well, is that like years ago I didn't accept myself just because it was just so taboo in my mom's eyes.
Mhm.
But now that I'm loving and accepting myself for who I am, that's when I was able to bring in like the partner that I have, because I learned to love myself unconditionally. She showed up in my life and loved me unconditionally. So once you truly become the person who you're meant to be, like
Mhm.
that, it's amazing. Like it was even in my wedding vows, I even said there, in a world where it tries so hard to to push you to not be the person you're meant to be. Like I said, I'm glad, Melissa, I was able to be the true person like with you.
Mhm.
And if I wasn't, then I'd probably be that emo sad person still sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
So yeah, just love yourself. Like give yourself some time. Don't be mad at yourself if you're not coming out right away. Just come out when you're ready, and things will work out. Like, you'll have to go through that, but yeah, you have to love yourself.
But just on a side note, it also like both you and Melissa are very driven people,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
it helps.
And it was like, well, we got to be driven so we don't have to talk about our sexuality.
That's true, yeah.
And then
Yeah,
it's
we
like, but then I'm like, well, your sexuality means nothing to anybody because it's none of their damn business,
that's
right?
true.
And so, and then I think about like one of our conversations about, when you guys were thinking about moving downtown, and I was like, my gut screaming, going, no, don't do that. And then
Yeah.
I see your life now of like being in the suburbs and you have your dog and you're out playing and you're just out fun. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine you guys shrinking yourselves down into an apartment again downtown, regardless
Yeah,
of the last 2 years. But
yeah,
like your life is just so much more fuller and
yeah.
yeah. And so
We're
it's just
grateful, especially during the pandemic. We wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't be able to enjoy, like, we made the basement into a gym.
mhm.
I was able to make one of my walk-in closets as a library. I've always wanted a library in my whole like life.
Aw,
And then it's just, yeah, we have happy places in our home. That's why, like, sometimes I want to go to a coffee shop and read, but like I just love reading in my library or even at my kitchen table. Like it's just good enough for me. But yeah, so I'm glad we didn't move back to downtown. It's pretty
yeah.
crazy there. Loud sounds, lots of energy. Yeah. So
Oh yeah. It's
yeah,
really crazy.
like Wi-Fi. Even though I'm in like a townhouse, it's just you can feel the Wi-Fi, but not as much as when you're in downtown, like all the different waves. So yeah, it's definitely different.
Or just think you got to go walk your dog and you weren't allowed on the elevator because people were on the elevator. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and think and this is how I think because this is the work I do. But I mean, I think about like I don't know, it was one of your guys' moves, and I was going, why are you trying to make yourself so small? And Melissa
Yeah,
looked at me and she goes, we're not. And I go, you are. You're trying to squish your lives into a small apartment. Stop it. And then
yeah.
you found somewhere else to move. But I
Yeah.
was just like, what are you doing?
They just move back into your place. Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
and I don't even think you had the townhouse yet.
I've
I
always
think you
had
were
it.
trying to go into a one bedroom, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, I've always had my townhouse, just rented it out. So,
Oh,
um, I've had it like a few, like 4 years before I started dating Melissa, but I
oh,
never,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So I just rented it out, but it worked out.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
very good. Well, this has been awesome.
Yes,
Thank,
definitely.
thank you
We
for
should do
being
it
on
again.
the show.
Yes. Thank
And
you for having me.